Hello viewers, and thank you so much once again for joining me, Costa, on the Big Talk. And today we have Reverend Mtata to discuss on a number of things, but mainly want to understand the concept of the Sungano Yevanhu that we have had recently. Firstly, Reverend, welcome to the Big Talk. Maybe you just start by telling us who is Mtata, sorry.
Yes, I mean, and you have already made a bit reference to my brother Kenneth.
Okay.
Many people really confuse me with Kenneth because we are both pastors and some think we look alike. We are brothers. But I'm Mtata, I'm Kwashe in full. And I'm born and bred in Berengwa and did studies in Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Germany. And perhaps, I mean, in relation to the issue we are talking about, generally, I have vested interests, although not entitlement, in the developments in Zimbabwe. I'm related to royalty in three ways. From my father's side, we are the Lodlos, and those who know their history would remember Mganda and Lodlo, who led the Ndebele military, which fought against the Rhodesian forces towards the end of the 19th century. And the white people, when they entered the country, they tried to take away the wealth of the black people, and they took away their cattle. And Lobengula sent an army to fight against them. And it was led by Mganda Nhlodlo. But people may also remember that we had one of the West's most well-known leaders during that time, just after the deposition of Lobengula, the person who remained running the kingdom was Lozike Lodlo, again our great-grand aunt. So our people, the Lodlo people, were scattered at some point because the white people pursued them. So my great-grandfather ended up settling somewhere in Berengwa. That's how we became Shona-speaking Lodlos, staying in Berengwa. On my mother's side, we are related to the Moyos. I mean, you know, the Mambos. Particularly in our case, the chiefdom of Negove. So my grandfather, my great-grandfather, was actually a heir of the Negove chiefdom. Some may remember Lieutenant General Sibusiso Moyo, who announced the, I don't know what we call it, but some would say the coup. The one who spoke about the thieves around the president. We are actually related to this Mhlahleli family because my great-grandfather was actually of that same family, which is the chiefdom of Negove. But of even more importance to me and some of the members of our family, including my brother, is that we are related to the kingdom of God through our Lord Jesus Christ, who said, when we pray, we should say, let thy kingdom come, and sought to settle the kingdom of peace and of goodness on earth, which is the kingdom of God. And it is that which motivates us in our participation in an attempt to have a just, peaceful, and prosperous Zimbabwe. So,
with someone who with such a rich background, what kind of Zimbabwe were you imagining as you were growing up?
My first memories of Zimbabwe is a Zimbabwe at war. I remember very much, I was less than 6 years old then. We had to go and sleep in the bush because we were afraid our home could be torched. The soldiers could come and harass us because we were in a period of war not long after I was born. And we eventually went to town where my father worked in Kwekwe. And although it was more peaceful there, there was no justice, there was no equality, we lived in poverty. And I remember very well our aspirations back then of independence, in the hope that independence would bring about prosperity and equality and sharing of resources, so that the black people would also enjoy the wealth of this country. Unfortunately, that was never achieved. Not long after independence, again, we started to have anxieties of being attacked now by our own people, because as a somewhat Ndebele family, we were regarded as having a leaning towards Zapu. And I remember my father had to leave home for about a month to hide, because there was talk about him being related to dissidents and he was supposed to be killed. So, I mean, I grew up in a Zimbabwe where we hoped for peace, where we hoped for justice, where we hoped for prosperity. And those things were evasive. And that has been the case up to now. It's not that there were not moments of prosperity for the country, but for a part of this country, it has always been problems from colonial times to the post-colonial period.
And what do you think is the main reason why the things that you aspired to see Zimbabwe looking like it would be, they've caused or they've made it not you to realize such aspirations?
Yes. I've spoken to some people who participated in the liberation struggle who are older than myself, who also had aspirations when they went for the liberation struggle. And they gave me the understanding that one big challenge was that quite a few of those who went for the liberation struggle didn't have the correct orientation as to what should happen after liberation. There were many for whom the national agenda was not very important. It was their own agenda, what happens to them after independence. And many of them saw themselves sitting in positions of power, enjoying by themselves, and not think so much about the rest of the people. Unfortunately, it may have been those such characters who then attained positions of power after independence. There were many also who had the right mindset, the right aspirations, but unfortunately, it didn't come out. This old person who was talking to me told me that, I mean, we were young people at that time, and we had our own base instinctual desires. Some hoped to have the opportunity to drink a lot of alcohol and to drink whiskey, which was not so much available to black people, and so on. So they didn't. Some of them didn't have high values for leadership of a nation after independence. And so this, one of our biggest problems, or in fact our biggest problem, is leadership. So we have made people leaders whose ideas about having a leadership position were not so good for society.
Like?
Yes, I mean, surely, I mean, when we see that, I mean, the distribution of resources is not fair, and it's getting worse. I mean, the ruling party we knew in the past at least had some semblance of some kind of socialism, some consideration of the masses, distribution of resources, and so on, so that people could access education, for instance. At the beginning, I mean, that was one of the major ideas, to provide education to everybody. The provision of health care to everybody, and so on. So at the beginning, at least, some of those leaders had some good ideas about what should happen in terms of providing society with good things.
Thank you so much, Reverend, for that background. Now, let's fast forward to today. What is Sungano Yevanhu that you have seen? You either being one of the popular faces appearing there. Please tell us in detail in terms of what this animal is.
So it's always Sungano Yevanhu, ubumbano lomphakathi. So we always use these two together. Sungano Yevanhu, ubumbano lomphakathi. The people of Zimbabwe have put pressure on some of the leaders in civic organizations and opposition political parties and churches, and said that, I mean, we do not see where this country is going, particularly with the introduction of Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. And the people are saying, I mean, we have never seen, I mean, we have seen challenges in Zimbabwe, but this has never been seen before. The base and banal attempt to take power away from the people to a small group that seems hell-bent on benefiting itself with complete disregard for the rest of the country. And the people put pressure on fragmented groups of leaders and said, I mean, you have but to come together. You have to come together and unite the people and demand our power back. We cannot have the presidency dragged to such low levels, where the presidency as well as the parliament are put in a situation where they are deciding about their own future against the constitution. The longevity of people in offices against what the constitution says. We have constitutions, for instance, in churches and in other groups, organizations. We have constitutions.
So what is making up this Sungano Yevanhu? Who is who?
So it's really the people of Zimbabwe. They are founding organizations. You have organizations that are made up of people who have been campaigning as different groups for the defense of the constitution. You have DCP, for instance, led by Jameson Timber. You have CDF, led by Tendai BT. You have NCA, led by Prof. Lavmo Maduku. You have under DCP itself is a coalition of a number of organizations, including labor organizations, including other civic organizations. So it's already a coalition. So we have here in Sungano Yevanhu Ubumbano Lomphakathi a coalition of coalitions. There are many.
Confirm you are the convener?
Yes, I am the convener. So when the people put pressure on these different leaders to come together and provide leadership, then the leaders went to the church and said, we would like you, the church, to lead us. And then the church said, well, I mean, as the heads of denominations, the heads of Christian denominations in Zimbabwe, we cannot provide leadership as that organization. But so what we can do is recommend to you members from our churches whom we think have the gift to do that.
So what is the primary objective of this conglomeration, of this coming together of various political groupings, social groupings, and so on?
Previously, it was to defend the Constitution of Zimbabwe from mutilation, a process that we saw was happening with the campaign for this amendment of the Constitution. But now it is to restore the Constitution of Zimbabwe, to give power back to the people of Zimbabwe, who are the owners of the Constitution, who were not consulted adequately or in an authentic manner to get back their Constitution and to get back their power. That is what we are we are about.
I'm just trying to figure out how you, after you failed to defend the mutilation of the constitution, as you say, you then be confident enough that you're able to restore the constitution. I'm trying to figure out how that can be possible.
Right. Of course, I mean, the coming together of Sungano Yevanhu happened just before the completion of the of the process of taking CAB 3 into law. So we are young in that regard as a collective. I mean, our members, our member organizations have been working on this for a long time. But you see, it's a legal process at the beginning. So we had assumed that sense will be knocked into the leadership, that this was not right. I mean, it looks not right. It's morally incorrect. It's legally not correct. So we assumed that the engagements we were making at the beginning would prevail.
Just in brief, Reverend.
Right.
But on what basis is this law illegal or unconstitutional?
Well, I mean, I'm not a lawyer myself, but my very, layman reading of Section 328 of the Constitution makes it quite clear that if we are going to change the time that the president and or parliament are staying in power,
including local authorities.
If we are going to change that, we need the people to directly say that they agree with that. And second, separately, we need the people to agree that the current holders of office will benefit from that amendment. So these two referenda are required by law if we are going to do what is happening now.
You have indicated that you are not a lawyer, but if someone was to put it to you that there is no term extension, but it's a lengthening of the time of the president, the MPs and the local authorities that are going to spend in office, given the appreciation that a term, according to the Constitution, a full term rather, will be from 3 years and above. And now this is just extension by 2 years. This is the argument that the proponents have put forward. What would be your response to that?
Right. I mean, if one were to go back to Section 328, there's a definition there regarding what a term limit comprises. And as far as I see it, I mean, that definition implies that the current changes are a tempering with the length of time. I mean, as long as length of time is applies.
Even by 2 weeks.
Exactly.
It's an extension.
It is an extension.
Fine, Reverend.
Right.
But then the questions, I think, there have been an argument and debates around this.
Right.
But the question now is, this thing is now law. Is Sungano Yevanhu, how do you tend to proceed and challenge it?
Yeah, I mean, it's law, but it's an illegitimate law. And we don't uphold illegitimate laws and immorality. We'll disobey that. We do not agree with it. Laws should be based on what people agree with. You cannot come up with a law that is unjust and then say that because it's law, people have to follow it. It's an illegitimate law. So We will fight against it. We will challenge it by lawful means. We will rely on the Constitution to defend itself. The Constitution has in itself the terms to defend itself. So we'll just go back to the Constitution, go back to the courts, because the courts are also a product of the Constitution and are guided by the Constitution. And if the courts fail to do their duty, we go back to the people, which is what we are doing. I mean, the owners of the Constitution, they are the only people. They are the last resort. They are the owners of the Constitution. They are the ones who can ultimately defend their Constitution.
I want to get something from you. You and me know historically and traditionally how the state respond to protest.
All right.
We rather call it peaceful or what.
Yeah.
But we know the lethal response that usually comes from the state. How prepared are you to make sure that you keep the ordinary citizens motivated to demonstrate and to protest?
Let me say this clearly. The state is ours. The state belongs to the people. Whatever resources the state has belong to the people. So it's up to the people to say whether they want the incumbent or those holding power or those making these decisions to continue using the resources of the state. So we can take back our resources if they are abused.
We saw overwhelming numbers of people who supported this law during public hearings.
That is cosmetic. There are no overwhelming numbers. I mean, there are coerced people. And there are people, some of whom who didn't even know what they were talking about.
But if you have to look at the statistics from Parliament itself, that says those who are in favor of the bill and those who are opposed, you will see a huge difference there.
This is what we are saying. If you want to know the real statistics, run a referendum. So we don't need spooky statistics. Just do the right thing, run a referendum, and then we'll have proper statistics. And conduct the referendum properly, not by coercing people, not by manufacturing numbers. Simply ask the people to give you proper consent. And if you are given proper consent, you become legitimate also. And it becomes workable as it is. This is just an application for disorder, and eventually, I mean, you have to rule by violence and violating laws again and again. So this is not the right thing to do it. You cannot give us statistics that you have cooked and say that this is what we must believe should run the country. I mean, if everyone comes into power and do that, I mean, what kind of country will we have? And the people of Zimbabwe are saying that we are not going to accept this to begin with, but we also just wish that our leadership come to their senses and realize we cannot go this route.
They've already signed it into law. It's no longer a question now whether they must come to their senses or what. They've already signed it into law, then they proceed.
Well, I'm a pastor. I believe in repentance. I believe that people can do wrong things and then realize later on that this is not correct. I really believe that this will happen. And if it doesn't happen, we'll try to help as the people.
But the question, Reverend, still stands.
Right.
How are you going to motivate people to make sure that they buy into this protesting against this law? Given the
This ques-
historical
this question
traditional
doesn't arise.
responses from the state.
It doesn't arise. It doesn't arise. It's the people who are motivating us. I was busy doing my theological education. I'm principal of a theological college. Ordinarily, I don't dabble into such things. Yes, I teach my students to be socially conscious, to be socially responsible, to participate in processes at community level, to encourage their members to do so. I'm busy reading, marking, and so on. I normally wouldn't do this. It's the people who are pushing us and saying, please give us leadership.
Under the circumstances, Reverend,
Right.
We have seen it now. It's even a trend now. Those who are opposed to this law have even had to address press conferences under very strict conditions. They can't even gather people. If they do so, they are met with violence and so on, which means Section 59 that you are relying on,
Right.
you will not be able to really see its fruits or to exercise it fully.
Yeah, I mean, this will always happen. You remember, I don't know if you know that, but we had Ian Douglas Smith, who was much tougher than what we see now. People had to go to war to claim back the country. We have seen people in other regimes much worse than ourselves here, coming out and demanding what belongs to them. The people of Zimbabwe have made it clear. This time, we are inundated with messages in support of Sungano Yevanhu Lomphakathi. There's a lot of interest. Some people had left the political arena and were doing their farming and so on and had given up. But when they realized this possibility, they are coming back, congratulating us, praying for us and promising to pray for us. And some are asking, where can we gather resources and stuff like that. So, as it stands now, if I were to stop this, I could actually face problems with people saying, but you cannot stop at this point. The people of Zimbabwe are highly charged, highly interested in seeing change, seeing a more constitutional Zimbabwe, a more just and prosperous Zimbabwe. They are really hoping for this, and they are pushing us to do something.
It's something that one may really want to wait with so much anticipation, if in terms of how the citizens will then respond to your calls for protest. But there's another also issue here, the issue of relying on the courts. Do you think this is the best route for you to really overturn this law?
Right. So we have to do this. And again, as I say, that all the institutions, all the arms of government belong to the people of Zimbabwe. And they are meant by Zimbabweans. And we expect those same Zimbabweans to want the right thing. As far as we understand, and among us, there are very erudite lawyers, people who really know the law, people who are constitutional law experts, among the leadership of Sungano Yevanhu. And they've made it clear to us that the law is clear. So, it is up to those in positions of judging and so on to demonstrate that they deserve to be where they are sitting. that they understand what the law says, that they have the right character to sit in those seats and make judgment. So it's up to them. They have to make a choice whether they judge with their stomachs or with fear, or they judge with courage and integrity and so on. As the law is quite clear. So we are going to the courts because we trust in the legal process. Right.
But your colleagues who are part and parcel of the Sungano Yevanhu have long accused the judiciary of being captured. How confident are you that a captured institution like judiciary in this particular matter will then have to adjudicate otherwise?
Again, as I say, I mean, particular individuals may be captured, but the law and what it requires of the courts, of the institutions, remains ours. And we expect that those who sit in the particular roles of responsibility will carry out their responsibilities as required by the law. I mean, so they judge themselves. They sit there as judges of themselves. If they fail in their own duties, they are simply telling us that we don't deserve to be here, for instance. And the people will decide, ultimately. So it is the people of Zimbabwe who will then say, well, I mean, the courts in this case have judged correctly or not. And it is these same people who are pushing the leadership of Sungano Yevanhu to go ahead and do whatever is required, file cases at the Constitutional Court, and do all that is required by the law. So we are just following our constitution. We are a constitutional following a group. So we are just following the constitution.
Given this amount of work that Sungano Yevanhu is facing, I just want to understand maybe the structure. How is it a Harare project? Is it Harare and Chitumbuiza and not all? How spread are you throughout the country?
So this is a nationwide thing, completely nationwide. Yes. So we have leadership. Some of our leadership in Bulawayo, for instance, and some of our leadership are based, I would say, based in Bulawayo and based in Harare. But our structures, the structures of our organization are spread throughout the country. So as I said, I mean, for instance, DCP, which has the labor movement, CTU, for instance, civic organizations like Simoko, Sikomo, and I mean, NCA with its structures. Then if you come to CDF, I mean, those in DCP, for instance, many of them are in what you already know as CCC. I mean, that political party. So the structures of that party, for instance, are still existent, and they are spread out throughout the country.
Just for clarification purposes,
right?
Is the July 31 protest that we hear and see being advertised on social media, are you also part of it?
Our date may be earlier. We haven't announced a date. We are not against anyone who announces a particular date as long as it is meant to promote this pushing back of the mutilation of our constitution. We don't have problems with that. But as Sungano, we haven't announced a date. We may even have activities much earlier than that. So very soon, there will be calls for people to go into action. And where exactly they will come from, people may never know, because we will spread out responsibility. As I'm saying that it's an organization in the whole country, and a call may start from Chiredzi or Binga and so on, but people will know at the right time. They will know it's coming from Sungano.
Are you not afraid that the protest may, the people can come out in overwhelming numbers and demand even more than just the reversal or restoration of constitutionalism by reversing this law, and demand even more now?
As long as people demand for the restoration of the constitution, for the giving power back to the people, we don't have any problems with that, and we are not afraid of that. If people become violent or hateful or revengeful, then we would have problems with that. But the leadership of Sungano is quite clear, and we have spelled out our principles, and the people who are sparing us are also sparing us on grounds of peacefulness and the desire again for a prosperous and just Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. So as long as it is within those that framework, we don't have any problem at all. People can make demands of whatever. It's their country, so they are free to make demands.
But there are also some notable faces that are missing from Sungano Yevanhu. We just wanted to understand whether you have reached out to them and what would have been the response. For instance, we didn't see Douglas Monzora there. And do you understand he is one of the drafters of the Constitution during the COPAC time?
Oh, yes.
He is also a leader of the MDC.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and other politicians as well, other political leaders outside.
Right.
Whom we have not seen saying anything with regards to Sungano Yevanhu.
Right. Again, as I said that, the people spared leaders to come together. And there are some leaders still out there who haven't yet come to be with Sungano Yevanhu. And you can rest assured, we have letters of application to join Sungano Yevanhu that are on my desk right now. And we have to vet those letters. We have some individuals who may be interested, but then the organization is made up of a coalition of organizations, not of individuals. The people, individual people who may not want to join particular organizations, many have expressed interest in supporting the movement. So there are many people who are not intending to be card-carrying members of any outfit, but who just trust in this coming together of people. So we don't have room for individual members, but there is room for organizations. And some organizations have expressed interest, and they are under consideration.
But do you foresee any chance that something will come out of this?
I see nothing else but that there will be success in
I ask this because one of the requirements will be for you, obviously, to notify the police.
About what?
About the protests, the demonstrations. You're notifying the police, and the police will say, the environment is not conducive for you to hold your demonstrations?
I mean, people of Zimbabwe have agreed on certain issues, one of which is Section 59 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which gives the people of Zimbabwe the right to hold peaceful demonstrations. It's a right that the people of Zimbabwe have. No policeman or no individual can limit that right. If they were to do that, they will be going against the Constitution. And as it says in the scriptures, we will obey God rather than men. We will not obey some individuals who just decide that, I mean, at this point, we will not follow the Constitution.
But Reverend, understanding the role of the church in situations like this, shouldn't you be leading the mediation, trying to seek audience with the president, to sit him down and issue out your concerns regarding this law, instead of adopting what could be the adversarial approach?
No, this is not adversarial. This is the president and myself are in agreement that we have a constitution. I don't think there's a dispute there.
But before...
So the church and government and all citizens of Zimbabwe are in agreement that there is something called a constitution, and that we are constituted as a nation by a constitution that we agreed on. And
but if you reached out to him, if you sought audience?
The church has reached out and is still reaching out, and this, what we are talking about, is also reaching out. So there is no one way of reaching out. The church has reached out to the president in private. So they actually went there and reasoned with him about the immorality of Cap 3.
Signing this bill into law.
Yes, exactly.
But he proceeded.
Yes, he proceeded to do that. But again, I mean, the president is a human being. He can take a course and he can change that same course. So it may be that he signed just to please some people. And after some time, perhaps he may say, oh, it was wrong, I did the wrong thing. So it's possible. So this is always something that is open. We don't close the dialogical process.
Let's assume, Reverend, you succeed in courts. The courts order 2 or 1 referendums. The people in overwhelming numbers says yes to the law. What's next?
Right. Let me say this clearly. By our own assessment, and by the assessment of the drafters of this constitutional amendment, the people of Zimbabwe overwhelmingly do not agree with this amendment. The reason why they do not want to bring it to a referendum is because they know the people will not agree to it.
Let's assume the court says there must be a referendum. The referendum is held, and the people in overwhelming numbers say yes to the law.
Right. I mean, you are making an assumption which is very difficult to make, because the people are already saying now that we don't like this, and that is why they are pushing us into leading them to protest against this law. But if the same people turn around I don't know what will have happened in their minds if they turn around and say, "Oh, now we want it." Then who are we? I mean, it's the people. It's the same people who have agreed to have this constitution. If the people want to change the constitution,
they will do the same style that we saw during the public hearings, that you will find venues flooded with people who are supporting the bill. So they can as well mobilize people to vote yes. Hence my question precisely to say, will you welcome it if it is coming from the people?
When they did this process and these activities, the people had not yet built Sungano Yevanhu. So the citizens were fragmented, and they saw it. So it is partly because the citizens saw that because of our fragmentation, we are being manipulated by a very small group of people who are busing sycophants into venues to give a picture that the people are in agreement with this. But people are very clear that, I mean, this is just a few people abusing the ruling party, partly abusing resources to push people into agreeing with something they don't agree with. I can tell you for certain, if the ruling party were to have a free and fair process among themselves to vote for CAP 3 or not, CAP 3 would lose.
We saw
in ZANU-PF only.
We saw
CAP
in Parliament.
3 would lose.
We saw it in Parliament.
Yeah.
Overwhelming numbers. Those MPs who liked the bill, they were on the other side. Those who opposed, they were something like 42 against 200 something.
Yes. In the Bible, there's a gentleman called Judas.
Iscariot.
Judas Iscariot. Yes. Who betrayed Jesus because of money. And we had Ananias and Sapphira who hid the proceeds of what they had that were supposed to be shared by everybody. They took them to their own pockets instead of declaring them for sharing with the rest of the people. This is something that is coming from long back in human history. There are people who get bought, and it's a creation of the leadership because of the poverty they've brought the people into. They can buy people and make people take decisions that are against themselves just because of the need for resources at the moment. So I mean, many of those MPs are thinking about themselves, and they are saying, if we go for an election now, I will not be in Parliament in the next 2 years. So I would rather that we extend my time in Parliament, and by extension, do that for the president as well. So that is just people who are thinking about themselves. It's not people who like the constitutional amendment with a passion. They are thinking about their livelihoods in the short term. So the rest of the people are aware of this, and they would not vote with the MPs.
Reverend, we have talked quite for some time now.
Yeah.
I want us to wrap up this. what is your message to the people of Zimbabwe who are watching this program with regards to Sungano Yevanhu and the CAP 3 that is now law?
Yes. My message is just to say what they, to repeat what the people are saying to us, that they want their presidents back. They don't want their presidents to run away, to be taken away by some characters around the president. They don't want the presidents to be stampeded into unconstitutional and lawful pronouncements. They do not want their parliament to be a marketplace of unscrupulous people who are dishing out cars and cash. The people of Zimbabwe are very clear about this. They want a Zimbabwe with integrity. They want a Zimbabwe that is for all Zimbabweans, and that is good for those in power as well of those who are not in power. So the people of Zimbabwe themselves are the ones sending us to gather them and to have a peaceful dialogical process to take back what belongs to them and to bring our institutions to sanity. And we hope very much that the leadership are hearing this. We don't need to go into some radical activities for people to understand this. But we are left with no choice. The people are left with no choice. That's what they are telling us. They are left with no choice. They may have to do this.
Thank you very much, Reverend, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.